Millions of people turn to Feng Shui to bring more peace, clarity, and cash into their homes. But what if some of the rituals meant to attract money are quietly blocking it instead? You lit the incense. You placed a bowl of salt in the corner. You poured a glass of water to absorb the energy. You believed, and yet the money hasn't moved. The cash hasn't flowed. And somewhere in the silence, you started wondering, is something wrong with me? Or is something wrong with the ritual? A woman once wrote, "I left a bowl of salt behind a plant near my entryway. 2 months later, it had turned grey and hard as stone. And those 2 months, everything in my life felt frozen, especially my income." This isn't just one story, it's a pattern. Because when we believe in something, we don't always check if it's still working. We hold on, hoping, even when the energy has already turned. In this video, we'll uncover 5 Feng Shui mistakes involving salt, water, and silence. Rituals that look like they're helping, but might be the very things draining your luck, holding bad energy, and stopping your cash flow. Stay with me. Subscribe so you don't miss the rituals that do work. And if you've ever used these objects before, drop a comment. You're not alone. Let's release what no longer serves and let your wealth finally move. There's a bowl of salt in your home. You placed it with intention. Maybe after a hard week. Maybe after hearing someone say salt knows how to carry what the heart can't. And for a while, it did. It sat quietly in the corner, absorbing what no one saw, catching every sigh that didn't get spoken, every fear that drifted through the room like dust. But now, it no longer pulls. It only holds. Stiff, clumped, yellowed. A silent sponge of what once needed release, but stayed too long. It's not just a forgotten bowl. It's a forgotten transaction. Between what you hoped to clear and what you're still keeping close. And maybe, just maybe, that's what your money has been doing too. Sitting, waiting, turning still. The corner where it rests feels different. Not chaotic, just closed. Like a window that's never been opened. Or a breath that never fully left the lungs. You sense it in the way the room holds itself too tightly, in the way your attention drifts elsewhere. The air feels flat, and so does your money. Cash doesn't flow in. Luck doesn't land. It's not that you're cursed. It's that your space is quietly whispering, "Not now." This is the mistake of the quiet believer. Not careless, not lazy, but someone who truly wants peace. Someone who believes in energy, but forgets that energy also needs closure. You trusted the salt to do its work, but forgot to ask if it still could. You didn't block your wealth out of fear. You blocked it out of forgetting. And the bowl? It became a trap. Spiritual on the outside, stagnant on the inside. Like a bank account that looks full, but every transaction says declined. It's like leaving a coffee cup in your car. At first, it smells like comfort, familiar. But after a few days, it turns sour, sticky, heavy with the scent of what once was. That's your salt bowl now. A ritual left too long. A sponge filled with expired prayers. And maybe your fortune, like that cup, needs to be emptied before it can be refilled. Salt does what it's meant to do. It absorbs moisture, smells, what's in the air. And in Feng Shui, it also absorbs what's not visible. Tension, fear, that quiet sense of something's off. But there's a limit. A full sponge doesn't clean. It leaks. It holds onto what it was supposed to take away. And when it just sits there, unchanged, your space starts holding the same thing. Your mind, your luck, even your money. If there's a salt bowl in your home that's been there longer than a moon cycle, and it's time, lift it gently. Say thank you. Return it to the earth or water. Clear the bowl. Clear the block. Some things were never meant to stay, even sacred ones. Salt costs $1, but the wrong bowl might be costing you thousands. There's a glass of water sitting somewhere in your home. You might not notice it anymore. Maybe it was part of a ritual. Maybe it was meant to calm the room. But now it's just sitting, still, forgotten, quietly turning. And somehow you felt the same, calm on the surface, but deep down, stuck. As if something meant to flow isn't flowing anymore. The air around it feels paused. Not peaceful, not vibrant, just paused. Like a river held back by a single rock, or like a breath that never became an exhale. You walk by that spot every day, but if you really stopped, you'd feel it, a sense of something left open, as if your space is holding in instead of letting go. And the money in your life? It starts to reflect that. Things slow down. Opportunities go quiet. You can't quite explain it, but luck seems to skip your address. This is the mistake of the gentle harmonizer, the one who wants peace above all, who believes in soft corners, sacred objects, still moments, but forgets that stillness, without intention, turns into stagnation. You weren't wrong to place that water there. You were trying to soothe, to shift the room into something softer. But in time, even water needs movement. Or else, it mirrors the very thing you hoped to clear. Think of a fountain left unplugged. At first, it looks fine, still, neat, controlled. But after a few days, the surface clouds. Dust settles. The water dulls. And instead of inviting energy, it starts repelling it. That glass of water in your home? It's doing the same. It's like a pause button that never got released. And your cash? It's been waiting for the flow to return. Water responds to its environment. It collects particles. It reflects vibration. It holds memory. That's why clean flowing water is used in Feng Shui, to invite clarity, fortune, renewal. But when it sits still for too long, it becomes energetically heavy. Instead of drawing in wealth, it begins to absorb doubt, delay, distraction. Your money listens to that. It senses whether it's safe to flow or better to stay away. If there's a glass of water in your home that hasn't been touched in days, refresh it. Pour it out. Clean the glass. Give it purpose again. Water is meant to move, and so is your wealth. It was just a glass of water until your fortune started reflecting it. There's a spot in your home where water sits. It might be in a vase, a bowl, a decorative fountain. It looks calm, but the light never reaches it. It lives in the corner, behind something, near the floor, always damp, always quiet. And what was meant to carry luck now just holds weight, still, heavy, a hidden anchor. The space around it feels pulled back, like something stuck there. You don't feel refreshed when you pass by. You feel slowed, dulled. The air feels like it holds too much, like a drawer that won't close properly, or a tab that never loads. And without noticing, you've started to avoid it. Just like luck has, this is the mistake of the quiet optimizer. The one who means well, who wants to add something good to a dull corner. Who thinks, if I just place water here, maybe it will freshen the space, balance it. But what you don't realize is, not every part of your home is meant to carry flow. Some places are too heavy, too closed, too unready. And when you force water into those places, you don't shift the energy, you bury it. It's like storing fruit in a cabinet with no airflow. At first it sits there, looks fine, but without light, without space, it begins to turn, slowly, quietly, until you realize the scent has changed and the entire cabinet feels off. That's your shadowed water corner. It's not flowing, it's steeping, and your fortune, like fruit in the dark, is losing its freshness. Water takes on the quality of its environment. If placed in a bright open space, it reflects light, it uplifts. But in dark closed corners, it absorbs. It becomes a magnet for stagnation, for low energy, for thoughts that feel heavy and unclear, and your wealth, which depends on clarity and openness, starts slipping away from places like that. If there's water sitting in a dark part of your home, move it or let it go. Water doesn't belong in places that don't breathe. Neither does your money. You don't need to fix everything. Just notice where the flow has stopped. Sometimes that's enough. There's a bowl of salt in your home, but it's not in a place that feels clear. It's under a shelf, next to the trash, tucked in behind a cabinet, somewhere forgotten, yet still absorbing. It was meant to catch bad energy, but now it's catching everything. Confusion, noise, the rush of the day. And without knowing it, your money has been hiding there too. The energy around it feels messy, not dangerous, just scrambled, like too many signals going nowhere, like a GPS trying to find itself in a tunnel. The salt was placed with hope, But the space didn't agree. Instead of cleansing the area, it became part of the clutter, part of the weight, and the flow of fortune. It doesn't settle where the signal's broken. This is the mistake of the overwhelmed protector, the one who wants to keep bad things out, but has too much going on. So they place the ritual fast, quietly, without checking the space, without checking their own state. You weren't wrong for trying. You just needed more clarity before calling in more energy. Because when you invite protection into chaos, you end up protecting the chaos itself. It's like locking a door, but leaving the key on the outside. You think you're safe, but something still leaks in. Something still leaves. That bowl of salt tucked under things is like a bodyguard, standing in the wrong hallway. It can't help you if it can't see what's coming. It can't hold fortune if fortune doesn't know where to land. Salt needs air. It needs openness. It pulls from what's around. So if it's placed near clutter, waste, or confusion, it absorbs that. In Feng Shui, placement is everything. Even a powerful ritual becomes neutral. Or worse, if set in the wrong frequency, your money doesn't just respond to intention. It responds to clarity, to readiness, to alignment. Walk to your salt. See where it lives. Does the spot feel light, open, aligned? If not, shift it. Give it space. Let it breathe. Let it hold what's true, not what's left over. Because your protection deserves direction. It's hard to attract cash when your salt lives next to the trash. You've opened the windows. You've rearranged the furniture. You've even placed the salt and the water. But the house is never quiet. There's always something on. A hum, a buzz, a screen talking to itself. And somehow, luck doesn't stay. It enters, then leaves. Like it doesn't know where to rest. Some spaces look peaceful, but never feel peaceful. Because silence isn't just the absence of sound. It's the presence of space, of breath, of something unspoken being allowed to settle. Without it, your space can't catch its breath. And neither can your fortune. It keeps moving, skimming the surface, never anchoring. This is the mistake of the busy healer, the one who keeps fixing, arranging, resetting. Who wants peace so much? They never pause long enough to receive it. You play calming music. You light candles. You clean. You organize. But silence, you avoid it. Because silence asks you to feel. And wealth, real wealth, only lands where feeling is welcome. It's like inviting a guest over, but never putting out a chair. You set the table, you cook the meal, but you forgot to make space for someone to sit. That's your house without silence. Busy, beautiful, but without a place for blessings to settle. Silence activates the parasympathetic nervous system. It slows the heart, deepens the breath, regulates emotion, and your space, it mirrors your system. A house that never rests signals to your energy and your money that it's not safe to land, not now, not here. If your house hasn't been quiet in a while, try this. Turn everything off. No music, no background noise, just breath and stillness, even just 2 minutes. Let the space remember what it feels like to simply exist without trying to perform. Your space doesn't need a sound bath. It just needs you to stop yelling at the blender. Sometimes it's not about adding more to your space. It's about noticing what's been there all along. The bowl of salt that never got replaced, the water that stopped flowing, the constant noise you stopped hearing. These things don't scream. They whisper, and if you're listening closely, you'll realize your space has been trying to tell you something. That stuck feeling you've had lately, it might not be just in your mind. It might be sitting in that corner, in that glass, in that forgotten ritual you meant to finish. But the good news is, it doesn't take much to shift everything. You don't have to renovate. You don't have to restart. You just have to reset, one small thing at a time. A new bowl of salt, fresh water, 2 minutes of silence. That's where movement begins. That's how energy returns. That's how money, clarity, and luck find their way back to you. And if even one of these 5 mistakes felt familiar, you're not falling behind. You're waking up. Subscribe to walk this path with us. And if you know someone whose home has felt off, send this video their way. Quiet change is still change. Your space speaks. Wisdom listens.